agenda, which is at number 4, election of officers. And you will not be able to see yourselves. If folks want to come up and speak, I think you can just come up here. I'm not sure kind of how like the cameras work and things like that, but
We don't need to see ourselves, we can see each other.
I don't know. We can try that, but I mean, I think we'll be all right. Listen, we just got Sue on the camera.
We are
So
not touching the camera.
you know what? I will do my best, but I'm not making any guarantees. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to y'all.
Okay. Now that we have everyone, I would like to nominate Becky Arps for chairman.
I would like to nominate John Bowman for chairman.
Second, I would like to second the motion
think
to
we have to
nominate
adopt-
John Bowman.
We have to adopt.
We got to adopt some rules and have a temporary chair, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure, but I think that's how it works.
Is there consensus that we adopt Robert's Rules of Orders for a temporary period here so we can organize the election?
So moved.
Yes.
All agreed? Consensus? Okay. Following Robert's rules, does anybody mind if I take temporary chair? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Following Robert's rules, the floor will be open for nominations.
I move that we nominate Becky Arps for
Second.
chairman.
And there's a second.
I move that we nominate John Bowman for chair.
There's-
Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? Any questions or discussion? Does the group feel like calling the question? All those in favor of Becky for chair, please signify by raising your hand. All those in favor of John for chair, signify by raising your hand. The acting chair recognizes a tie.
Well, Becky, I'll yield to you if you want to say some words, and I'll come behind you. I guess we have to make a case why we should try to negotiate. Probably the easiest way forward, just my humble opinion, is to create a slate of some sort, but we will be deadlocked for the rest of the night, so.
Can I just make a few comments?
Sure.
I know I'm out of order. I'm out of order here with the agenda. My name is Bob Grant. I'm an attorney with the County Counselor's Office, and our office represents St. Louis County and its boards and commissions. And some of this may sound a little vague to you, and I apologize for that, but this reapportionment commission is technically not a county commission. It's created by the charter, and the charter specifies how you all became members of this commission, but it's not a county commission. So I technically cannot give you legal advice because I only can advise county boards and commissions. But I was asked to just give you some general just information that you may or may not use, whatever you want to do. The agenda does say elect officers, and that was put on there just as kind of the normal thing that boards and commissions do. But like if you read the charter provision that addresses your creation, there's no requirement that a chairman or a vice chairman or a secretary has to be elected. Which is different. I mean, there was the charter commission that looked into amending the charter, and that specifically says the first thing you do is you elect a chairman and you go from there. That is not in that provision that creates this reapportionment commission. So you all don't have to have a chairman or a vice chairman. We do get to the secretary issue, and that gets into the open meetings law, which I'll just go into briefly. But so if you want to select someone or if you don't want to select someone, it's up to you. Let me briefly go into open meetings, and many of you are familiar with it in general. Again, it's going to sound vague, but this body is probably not a public governmental body as described in the statute. So again, there's probably not a requirement that you have open meetings. This one, for just policy reasons, was noticed up as a meeting for people to come to, and it's fine to have an open meeting, even if you are not legally required to have one. And so this is an open meeting because there was a notice published, and people can come and people can listen. But in the future, one of the things that applies to open meetings, of course, is if you have a quorum in order to have an open meeting. And what I was going to get to is that in many instances in the past, this reapportionment commission would basically break up into Republicans and Democrats and draw their respective maps. And when they do that, of course, they're 7 and 7. So there is no quorum. So even under sunshine, there would be no requirement that when 7 Democrats or 7 Republicans get together, they have to notice up the meeting or they have to allow the public to come in, because it's not a meeting because there's no quorum. So getting back to, if you didn't have a chairman and a vice chairman, it's really not crucial that those offices be filled, because when you meet in your respective political meetings, you're not going to have quorums anyway. And so even if the chairman's not there because the chairman was in the other party, it doesn't really matter. And then you'll conduct your meetings the way you want to conduct them.
The information that was shared with us included information in the Sunshine Law, requirement to post meetings 24 hours in advance.
Right.
And having been on the MSD Rate Commission, I remember that their interpretation was that the only reason we could go in the closed session was it had to do directly with litigation that MSD was involved with. Otherwise, the Rate Commission was required to do everything in front of the public.
Well, the Rate Commission was determined to be a public governmental body under Sunshine. And what I was saying is that there's a real question as to whether this body fits within those definitions. When you read the definitions of what a public governmental body, those definitions apply to various types of entities. I don't think this body is a public governmental body, but from a policy standpoint, just for this first meeting, there was 24 hours notice, and there has been, of course, like here, no motion to go into closed session. And you're right, there are reasons why you can go into closed session, one of which is litigation, one of which is sale of property, things like that. But all I'm saying is that you, as a practical matter, when you meet to have your meetings with your respective parties, you're not going to have a quorum. So even if this body were a public governmental body, the meeting of the 7 Republicans and the 7 Democrats is not a meeting because there's no quorum there. You have to have 8 to have a quorum.
So in the past, this group has not held public meetings as they're working through the process?
I'm sorry, in the past?
This
Right, when
commission is
7
not.
people meet, it's not, well,
no,
if they
just-
wanted to have a public meeting, they could.
Right.
And so I just, so I wanted to just add, so, I mean, we're a little bit off of the agenda, but I think that as long as we're tracking it all, it's fine. I think it's important. Bob just gave you all what the floor is, right? That is the baseline, the standard, which is what you are not required to do. You all as a commission can adopt rules about transparency and accountability above and beyond what the Roberts rules are. And again, these are all things that are completely up to you. And I know we're also, I'm a little bit off. You'll see 6.2 detailed role of the county executive's office. I'm going to give you the answer. There is none. We're done. The county executive made the appointment and we're done. We are more than willing to help liaise with IT. But outside of that, there is none. So we can go ahead and cross that off too.
Or Becky has her hand
But I just wanted to kind of lay that out for you, that Bob is just kind of helping you all understand that this is the baseline. You all are completely in charge of your own destiny in terms of what sort of rules you're going to adopt.
I just had a question on what is the requirement of the secretary? Is the requirement of the secretary to provide
Okay.
notes of any sort to people?
And I'll get back to your question in just a minute. But yeah, the secretary is supposed to take minutes, and those minutes under Sunshine can be a summary of what happened.
Right.
You should record all the votes. So that's definite, that if there are votes, secretary is supposed to take down the votes. And if it was a roll call, the secretary is supposed to designate each person who and how they voted. But the minutes don't have to be verbatim. It doesn't have to be a recording, but many meetings are recorded, so the secretary can then go back to the recording and determine what's appropriate to put in the summary.
We have a question over here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Acting Chair.
Acting Chair. I'd actually like to make a motion for a bipartisan slate.
We're out of that. Yeah.
Well, we're going to need some sort of order,
We gotta
just so
have
we
some type of structure, though.
structure and order so we can know when we're getting together and so on.
Excuse me. Would we all be, it seems that we have a little bit of a general consensus that the Democrats were going to try and have John chair and the Republicans would like Becky to be chair. Would we be okay with maybe co-chairs?
I was going to propose the same thing.
I
I'm good
love
with
that.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise,
then
we'll
I-
be here all night.
So I guess I make the motion to then have Becky and John be co-chairs
I
of this
second,
commission.
Multiple seconds. Just any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, sorry. They'll work it. We'll let them work it out.
We'll talk it over and get consensus from you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So.
arm wrestle, clearly.
I'm feeling Becky will win. I'm sorry.
We have a motion on the floor, and the acting chair is about to give up his job by calling the question. All those in favor of co-chairs, Becky and John, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
What
So-
is the,
Aye.
Wait,
I-
question-
Aye.
We have a question.
Question on.
and what would the power of the chair be?
Basically to order meetings, set meetings, notify us, and basically run meetings when if we do have public meetings.
Sure, more meetings are held in an orderly manner.
Right, keep things in an orderly manner.
Is there in Robert's rules, may we offer an amendment?
Yeah,
Yeah,
or we
we
can
have
do
that.
that in our operational rules after we have a chair.
We haven't adopted the rules yet. So
Right.
We're only utilizing Robert's rules for the purposes of getting to the point that we can establish a chair,
right.
whether it's co-chair or singular.
I was,
Then we,
right, I was just gonna offer, if anybody's amenable to it, that the chairs sit next to each other for every meeting, and
Let's
is
get,
that later?
that's later.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you, sorry.
Any other discussion on the motion to have Becky and John as co-chairs?
I thought we already voted.
Well,
Well, I interrupted.
Okay.
okay,
There was discussion.
there was discussion. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of having John and Becky as co-chairs signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Everybody, Sue,
And she is.
you may not be able to hear us again.
Did we lose Sue?
Okay,
okay.
okay.
It's unanimous.
Having decided that, I yield the gavel to the distinguished chairs.
I'd be willing to give up my seat if the two of you would like to sit.
Yeah.
Me as well.
There's more light down here. Matt.
It's, four.
So election of officers would got to do vice chair. I guess we won't even need to do that.
I was gonna say, let's skip.
Are
or-
you
or-
okay with Can I make a motion to eliminate the vice chair as
Wait,
unnecessary, given?
We just go straight to the secretary.
Okay, great. I'd like to
Yeah.
make a motion. I would like to nominate Adam Bone for secretary.
Second.
I would like to nominate Brian
Winger Muley.
Winger
It's a
Muley.
mouthful, don't worry about it.
W on the end.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Nominations, I did the nominations to go on board.
This was for secretary.
Helena.
So to eliminate a deadlock that we will consistently be running into with 7 and 7 votes, I would like to humbly recommend we do what we just did with the chair, co-chair the secretary.
And maybe taking it from the point of each of you taking notes and then syncing up with the notes to make sure that you agree on what the votes are and kind of collaborate on a final product.
Would that imply that we would jointly review the minutes before they were officially accepted?
Of course.
Okay.
One would
Yeah.
assume that would have to be the case.
Yeah, we would have to see the minutes. The reading of the minutes would have to be adopted before the meeting anyway, so.
I would assume that Brian and I would just generate a set of minutes and then review. Like unless you meant that we both would give you ours.
No, I'd hope that
No.
you guys would be able to sync ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if you're getting sets of minutes.
No, you
No.
guys sync ahead of time and then share with the commission as a whole.
Yeah, before the meeting, we would just have a reading of the minutes from the previous meeting that you guys provide to us. That work?
In the spirit of full collaboration.
Okay? All right,
You okay
so
with that, Adam?
I second that.
the consensus that we have co-chair secretaries. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is,
You,
Sue,
Sue,
you good?
Sue? We're voting on co-chairs for secretary. We're voting on co-chair for secretary.
Co-secretaries.
Co-sec- I mean, co-secretary, yeah. Yes?
Yeah, sounds like underwater.
Unanimous.
Yes.
By vote of the whole, we adopt co-chair secretary.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. Adoption of
All
rules.
right. Adoption of rules.
I would like to propose that we continue with the Robert's Rules of Orders, but including including the idea that we can offer the Zoom option for those that are unable to be here, with the caveat that the voting member is visible. I know with Zoom, at times you can put up a picture there, you can put up something else. So it would be with the caveat that the commission member would be visible throughout the meeting.
Discussion.
Need to be specific to the space, not just like.
Yeah, their face visible. I would hope that it would always be the face, but
Any discussion?
Yeah, right.
Sounds good?
I think that's fair.
Okay. That rule,
We haven't voted yet, have we?
no.
No.
Sorry.
All in favor of adopting virtual meeting acceptance with the face of the commissioner being shown? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Question? No?
We're trying to.
Oh,
get-
okay,
we're
don't
trying to make
confuse
sure
me.
Sue gets it.
Does that include any further amendments to rules or that? I don't have any amendments at this time to even propose.
Well, I think we are adopting Robert's Rules of Order so far.
Correct.
Okay, I don't know if
Yeah.
we were doing Robert's rules and then voting on each any given amendment.
No, we just brought this in as an
Yeah, as it that, are there any other addendums
Gentlemen.
that we would have need for?
Yeah, I didn't know, I just wondered.
I would like to propose a rule that it's come to my attention that previously, when this reapportionment committee met, that there were quite a few sub-meetings that took place outside the room. People would step out and speak with outside counsel of some sort. And I would just like to propose that we not do that. And that if you want to leave the room, you ask the permission of the group. And, you know, if you don't get the permission of the group, you can't come back into the meeting.
Don't agree.
Discussion.
Can you elaborate?
I guess I just want to know why. I mean, not that I have any plans to do this, but I've not been a part of this process before, so.
Well, I think that our discussions should be between all 14 of us and open between all 14 of us, rather than going back, stepping out of the room to speak with advisors. And, you know, then you have sub-meetings taking place outside of the meeting while the meeting is going on.
We'd like the continuity of the meeting.
Right, but if we're in a meeting and someone wants to take a break or,
Yeah,
We can do.
Then we would vote to take a recess. I would,
yeah, I think,
Recess,
I
but
think to.
sometimes some people can't wait for a recess. Mother Nature has her own way.
Yeah, to avoid being
Right.
too restrictive and cumbersome, I think we should have some discretionary movement on that particular item because.
Well, yeah, it's one thing to have to go to the bathroom. It's another thing to go, you know, out in the hall and have a long conversation with somebody who might be, you know,
I don't,
who knows what.
I think we are charged with making decisions about these maps, right? That's what we are here for. So discussion among us, I think we're gonna have to go into this with some level of trust with each other at the gate.
Right, and I think we've already worked towards that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so if a person goes out, you wanna put a time limit on how long they're out there? Is that what it is, or what?
since we're split down the middle,
I think it's just trying to get across that all 7 of us shouldn't want to at the same time and have a meeting.
Oh, yeah, I get
You know,
that.
we need to all talk together and make all these decisions together
Yes.
Yes.
so that it's all fair.
I think,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I've been in public meetings though, where sometimes the session went on 7, 8, in one case, 11 hours. Please understand that some of us have to get up and stretch our backs and so on too, and that you'll stay in the room, but you won't necessarily be sitting in the same chair for 8, 10, or 11 hours.
Some of us would have to go to the bathroom too.
So,
I know I
so
will.
I get it now. I understand. So I get what you're saying. No outside meetings
Within the meeting. Yeah.
within the meeting.
It makes sense, like she had said, when we have our separate meetings at home, route maps, bring them here, that's when we come together. There's no reason for us to then break a meeting with all 14 of us to have a separate meeting, come back. I
Right.
think that's what Amy was getting at as well.
Let's seek to have continuity of the meeting and focus our time here as a group as opposed to breaking in the middle unless as needed. Yes.
yes, I don't think, you know, I have no plans of leaving the room and having meetings, but I just wanted to say, I think the reaction was a little bit, because of they may not come back in ever during that meeting. So, you know, it was just, I think we understand and we are in agreement that we should have the meeting, we should all be in here discussing everything together. And I leave it to your discretion as well. You know, if it's appropriate to let somebody go to the bathroom or not.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
You're not gonna have to ask me if you can be excused to go to the bathroom. You're all adults.
Right.
And that's fine.
And I don't want us to necessarily make rules for something that happened last time. That's kind of my first initial thought.
Secondly, if all 7 leave of one party, then we don't have a quorum. And I would say something to the effect, if that is the case, and if that is what we're trying to guard against,
Right.
then we say it that way. If we look up here and see that there are only 7 folks there, then perhaps we need to break the meeting. But kind of the way I'm hearing it, it's not kind of gelling with me. So that's my thought. Because it sounded like, oh, I could have a caucus on my phone. I can get counsel on my phone. And so the way that I'm hearing it presented, I'm not feeling it right now. So if we want to do it from a quorum perspective, I like that language better. And so that's my thought on that.
Well taken.
Yes, sir.
I just would like to try and expedite this in the interest of time, since I know we're all trying to get through the agenda. This feels, all due respect, like we're talking about hypotheticals here that have not come up, and I just can't see a reason why we'd need to amend the rules at this time. That's all.
Any more discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't we just change the verbiage, like he said, to, if there's not a quorum in the room, we stop the discussion and we wait for a quorum.
I believe we don't have a quorum. Like we
But we
don't,
can initiate.
we would have to set a quorum.
That one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I guess that would mean we'd need a motion first to set a quorum.
Someone care to make that motion?
I care to make the motion. I believe, what is half plus 1, that would make 9.
Eight.
And I would like to make a motion to keep our quorum at 8.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and second. Are there any questions?
For discussion.
We need to.
Unless he accepted the friendly amendment.
Yeah, an amendment to his motion.
The amendment to it. Right.
Yeah, that's fine. I accept the amendment.
We can vote on. All in favor, say aye.
So wait, just to make sure that we know what we're voting on, right at this point, we're voting on 8. Okay.
With its amendment.
So all in favor of voting for quorum to be set at 8, say aye.
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 Discussion?
Do we really want to call a quorum 8 and have a meeting with 8 people? I think maybe it ought to be at least 9. Yeah, maybe 10.
Let's make a quorum of 10.
Where that could come into an issue, again, my experience in the MSD Rate Commission, when we had public meetings, it was hard to get more than a handful of commissioners to a public meeting at night. Everybody had no trouble being there at 10 in the morning. For the public meetings in the evening, it was hard getting half plus 1. So for
Well,
that,
We're allowing people to appear virtually.
Order, please. Next speaker. Who's next?
We're allowing people to appear virtually.
Exactly. And I mean, daytimes, we work non-government jobs. So, I mean, I don't have that luxury. So nighttime is just like, school board and that sort of thing. So.
Do you think
I-
that the flexibility of Zoom would address that challenge of having a quorum of 10?
As we're doing now
Yeah, Zoom.
and already agreed to doing.
Yeah, that's one of the key reasons for bringing Zoom and WebEx conferencing aboard, so that people who were not able to be here, we can still get them on their cell phone or other devices and.
As long as we can see their face, we've already agreed to that also as part of the rules. So I don't understand your concern. Maybe I've misunderstood you.
well, just that if we do public meetings, I was in a public meeting one time where we had to end the meeting early because one of the commissioners who was under the committee level had to leave, had to leave for a family reason. And as a result, we had like 32 people who were lined up to speak and we couldn't accept testimony anymore.
Well, you have more courtesy than the county council here that we tried to get in and don't get to speak to our masters. So I understand.
Would we be comfortable with the quorum of 10? And if for some reason we determine that this is just not going to work for us, we can amend at a later date?
I will make a motion to set quorum at 10.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Did you say discussion?
Is it any other discussion?
Yes, ma'am. So that is 5/7. What is the math going to come out? I would say, personally, I would make it 9. It's majority plus 1, which would be 9. It's kind of a
It's two.
majority,
majority
majority
plus
plus
one,
1 would be 9.
Would be 9. 'Cause
And
8
so I would set it there. Otherwise, you have the super majority kind of take it. Just kind of a numbers thing.
Then I will retract my motion and instead.
No, 10, I think we should stay at 10. I think that's a fair number.
Any thought process behind that, or just?
Yes, we committed to doing this and it's important work. So I think we can all try our level best to be here or virtually, since we've made that accommodation in order to make the process happen. My humble opinion. Thank you.
I mean, we should certainly all be here when we can. I mean, I think that is, but I think what we were talking about, what started this conversation was if someone left the room.
Yeah.
Correct.
Not if we
We've kind of
are,
gone really far.
right. So-
Correct.
So putting it back into that context, I think 9 is just a number that I think we can deal with. Not that we won't be here and we shouldn't be here and all of that kind of stuff. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I go with 9, and if we don't go, that's fine. So there you have it.
Find your super majority.
So super majority, it's usually like 2/3, right? Plus.
Can we get interpretation from the
plus.
attorney on this?
Yeah.
First of all, these discussions are fine. When you vote, remember, at the very end, in order to adopt an actual map, you have to have 9 out of 14. So that's what the charter says. But that doesn't mean that's what you have to have for any particular meeting. And just one clarification, just because you leave a meeting doesn't necessarily mean you lose a majority. People can temporarily leave meetings and come back. You lose, I mean, not majority, quorum. You lose the quorum when someone leaves the meeting, and that usually means they're intending not to come back, at least for an extended period of time.
But that sounds like a judgment call.
It is, yeah. If you, as a person, leave for an hour just to disrupt things, you probably messed up the form. But if you go to the bathroom and come right back, you haven't disrupted the quorum by doing that. But it does take 9 votes to adopt a map. That's majority
So,
plus 1.
In the spirit of,
Right number. It
Okay,
also incentivizes us to have more people present.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have 14.
Well, if I may say, first of all, we have a particular time frame that we are to bring about this particular reality of the map. In that time frame, do we know what that date is?
December 2nd.
So
December
then, from
2nd.
that standpoint, in reference to 7 districts being reconfigured, the information that we are going to deal with is going to be on the number of meetings we're going to have to be able to reconfigure 7 districts. Each group has probably had some idea already as to what kinds of changes that they in turn feel are going to take place between now and that particular deadline date. We will have information given to us through the census to be able to establish what the magic number is for the number of people that has to be a part of each one of the districts. So it's not like we're going to be meeting on an everyday basis. I don't know the word, if we say we're gonna meet on a weekly basis, you know, in reference to now and that particular time that we're to have the job performed. So, you know, I think that the quorum situation actually comes down to the finalization of the product that we're here to bring about. Now, there will be discussions along the way in reference to those lines. I'm sure there's going to be some individuals who say that they would like the line to be here opposed to there. And those are discussions we'll have in reference to coming to a finalization. But at the end of the day, the quorum only takes place when we agree that this is going to be what we're going to present.
So are you saying we don't need a quorum?
Well, I'm saying that the quorum, if we're talking about that, is not really going to come about until the end, in my estimation. Anything that we do before then is simply a discussion that we're having in reference to the configuration of the districts to conclude what we're going to present as our particular recommendation for now the new district boundaries. Yes, sir.
My hope is that we would have some public meetings so we can get some input from members of the public. And if we have enough people there to make sure that when people come out to talk to us, that we're there to listen to their concerns. And I also hope we would later on talk about accepting written testimony.
Well,
Because these
that's a
are
hope.
things.
That's a hope, but let's be real. How many public do we have in here now?
Mhm.
This is a situation we were selected to conclude at the end of the day, whatever happens comes from the 14 of us. Now, public input, but they don't have a vote.
No.
They only have a suggestion. All information that's going to be considered based upon the end results comes from the 14 of us. And so to that point, the public, all of that and stuff, if they come, they come. If they don't, it's not going to stop us from being able to have the task at hand. So we have to the December date to come up with a configuration for 7 districts. Simple. Keep it simple. We're all intelligent people sitting here. So if anybody has any particular pre-thoughts as to how all of this is going to happen, get rid of it. I think that if when we sit down and look at the numbers and we come up with the numbers that are supposed to be a part of what each district compiles of, that's our job. Okay? And so when we do that, we have a vote. Okay, we say that map A is this, vote on it. If we got a quorum, map A is what we present. If we got a map B, then that becomes a secondary issue. We present that. But I don't see that all of that is necessary in reference to this. Is not a formula, as he's told us on more than one occasion. We're just an ad hoc committee to sit down and try to come up with something. And for those who, as my distinguished guest, Mr. Bowman said, you're liable to end up in court anyway. Okay? When we get through going through all of this. Now, you didn't say it.
I don't have a crystal ball.
No, we didn't say, but it has been stated that in previous times, these particular scenarios end up in court anyway, because there's going to be somebody who doesn't agree that's outside of this group, and they're going to go file a suit and say, we don't believe in that particular map, so it won't be. So, okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Parker. We're going to move on so we can get some other comments.
To Commissioner Curtis's comments, we have 15 Thursdays between now and December 2nd. And the 14th is Thanksgiving. So I agree with what you're saying. And I
It
think
sounds
we'll
like
keep
we.
the time in mind.
Alderwoman,
I just wanted to say that, in my
Commissioner.
2010, we had one of these things in St. Anne. All of these things have to be divided equally, racially, by precinct, and a whole bunch of other stuff. The easiest way that St. Anne handles that is to simply send it to the lawyers and make sure they get the numbers right. And then we approve the numbers. We don't fight over the lines. So it shouldn't be that hard of a process. We've already got a set of lines. There's maybe 15,000 in one. I think like 5,000 on another that needs 6,000 in another that needs to move around. There's 20,000 people we're talking about moving. It's not going to be that big a deal.
I believe we have the previous question, which is still setting a quorum. I'd like to make a motion to set quorum in spirit of the commission at 9, which is the majority plus 1 because of the nature of the commission.
There's already a motion on the table.
Motion is for 10, isn't it?
The motion is for 10, but I retracted that.
Yeah, he retracted that motion. Do we have
retracted
to
that.
vote that down or what?
So we formally, you
So
formally
question.
withdrew your, okay.
Oh, he formally withdrew his.
I
vote.
did.
He withdrew his motion.
So the
Then I'll
question,
make a motion that we keep a quorum at 10.
so the question in reference to the quorum that I have is, and we making the assumption that the quorum is going to be equally participated by persons in the party. So if it's
No.
9, 7 Democrats show up and 2 Republicans show up, it's a quorum. You know, so are we going to set that it's got to be an equal number of people within the context of the number of, that we're setting as a quorum?
I still have I need a second.
We don't,
No, his-
that you might not get
The motion hasn't had a
I had
second.
a question that
has-
has to be
hold on,
answered
let's-
first before we.
If I may
Second the motion.
talk to the question, or you tell me.
Commissioner Pearson, you may speak.
I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Faulkner. I would say if we're gonna be a bipartisan commission, that we not worry about that. That would be my statement on that.
Just asking.
Yeah.
It's a question.
That's a good question.
Commissioner Ball. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Commissioner Sanders.
want, it's me. I want to say that this started with talking about if people leave the room to have a meeting outside the room, then they can't be let back in the room. Now we're arguing about quorum of 9 or 10, and we don't actually legally have to have a quorum, and it seems like some on the other side also don't actually think that we need to have a quorum. So I'm not sure we need to delay any other business that we want to do with this if we don't have consensus that we even need a quorum.
Point of information.
Commissioner Ball, then came, okay.
Out of curiosity, are you the only one who was in the redistricting 10 years ago? I didn't know if anyone else on the committee was.
I have participated before.
No, but are you the only one? Because I was going to ask you
I
specifically.
haven't.
Yeah.
What, in a given meeting, what do we do? Is it mostly just audience response? Because a lot of, like we've spoken before, the maps are drawn outside of the meetings. So the meetings that we're going to have in the future are going to be scheduling. It's just going to be audience participation. How much of the actual map drawing and conversations and negotiating actually occurs within the meeting itself?
This is my first county council district. I was on the state congressional redistricting,
I thought you were on the county council.
but we had technical support. So we did allow a lot of public comment, and that structure is probably still the same with this. But Commissioner Faulkner actually made some very good points. We can set the dates that we're going to meet. Eventually, we should come together as commissioners, as he stated, look over the maps, decide where the consensus map is or a fair map is. At which point, this will be December. We have to have a meeting north, south, west. That's pretty much mandatory what we have to do. Public comment is very important. If people show up, as he stated, if they don't, we are the ones who really charge with agreeing upon the consensus map. So to answer your question, the technical support we received was data-driven mainly. But we still made the decision at the end of the day.
Yeah, because when he was speaking, it got me to think that if most of the meetings are going to be public response, the quorum question is somewhat moot, which I think is what he was getting at. So that's kind of what I was wondering, what meetings.
Yeah, I'm of the thinking that the quorum question is really overrated. Considering
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think if we should move forward and try and make meeting dates when we all can attend, I think is the most important.
I've got a point of
And
information.
with a time not changing multiple times
Yes.
after it's been agreed to by the group.
I've got a point of information from one of the co-secretaries. I didn't hear a second to the lady's nice motion.
Well, wait,
Oh.
first, we didn't have a
So
second.
we're all
The
wrapped up
previous-
in-
The previous motion
Yeah,
was over
okay.
here.
Go ahead.
We're all wrapped up in motions.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have several things that need to be undone here, actually, because we have conflicting motions.
So Matt made the motion, Brian amended the motion, rescinded his
Well-
motion, re-amended it, rescinded it, re-amended it, or at least he's trying to re-amend it. So right now, we're working on the amendment to his motion.
Correct.
Okay, that
Okay.
brings us up to date.
But I thought you wanted 10. And I think
want
that's,
10.
I think that's reasonable because I think it should be more incentive. We should be here. Attend in some you couldn't be any more easy than doing it virtually or being here. So I'm just curious, you know.
I guess on the flip side, it's looking at as not more than 4 people are going to leave the meeting at any given time. Or is it not more than 5 people are going to leave the meeting at any given time?
Depends on
So
what they ate.
that's a great question, but I'm also thinking, if we do not have 10 people, if we make that the quorum, how do we proceed from that point?
So if we have,
We don't have 9.
if we have 4, if we have a commission of 14, if 4 people are not present or 5 people are not present,
The meeting would have to be canceled.
Well, we wouldn't be able to take up business, but we could still hear people's, that's kind of what I was wondering. What meeting purposes are.
recognizing.
Purpose of the
Just-
meeting is to
Just
conclude
again, to bring it back to where we started.
lines
We
on
started
that.
with, if somebody leaves the room, then that's an issue. And I would think that if we wanted 4 or 5 people to leave the room at one time, then that's what originally started this conversation.
And then that's called for a recess. If you got that many people wanting
If
to
you
leave the
got
room,
5 people
we'll call a recess.
to leave the room at one time, then you may call for a recess.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to make it 4. I wouldn't want to make it 3, 2, 1. I think 5 is a good number.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so since everybody seems to be on that side so caught up in where we started, didn't we get over that already? Am I mistaken? Didn't we already agree on that not being an issue? Are we done with that part? Or are we going to keep that going? And then you came with 10, you came with 9. It's a difference of 1. I'm not understanding why every time we start into this discussion, somebody has to say, well, in the beginning, we started with this subject. No one cares. We're over it. I think that we need to probably get over the 9 versus 10. And I think that maybe we should go back to explaining why you would want 9 and why you would prefer 10. And I'll tell you why I prefer it. So, maybe we can move forward that way.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Can I ask the commissioner to yield a moment so I can ask the attorney to come forward and maybe help us out with this?
Just to clarify one more time, when you don't have a quorum, you can still have discussions. You can consider maps. You just have to have a quorum when you want to take a vote. So just like I said at the beginning, if you have 7 Democrats, so you can have 4 people and you can have all the discussion you want.
Of course,
You just can't take a vote.
can't vote.
Okay.
Exactly. And to that point, that's why I think it's important that we have more rather than fewer present. And nothing could be easier than bringing it in virtually. Thank you.
10's a good number.
More discussion.
My opinion.
We have on the floor a motion for,
I have the motion, yes, set at 9. I think I said that earlier, but just that is the majority plus 1 as Mr. Grant explained earlier, and that is why I leave my motion at that. But I believe we still need a second, if anybody would give that.
Weren't we on yours first at 10?
This is an amendment.
Well, he didn't make a motion.
I gotta peel this onion back because Commissioner,
It is his,
House.
so we started there, and then I amended that we set
Jealous.
quorum.
He accepted the amendment.
He accepted
he
the amendment.
accepted the amendment. And
Which
so-
was at 10.
Exactly. At 10.
The amendment was
And-
not
But
voted.
that's
And then
true,
the
we did
amendment
not
was-
ask if he accepted the amendment.
Yeah. You offered an amendment, a friendly amendment. He accepted the friendly amendment. You withdrew the friendly amendment. And then offered a new friendly amendment, which has
Which
not been
stands at
seconded.
9. Correct.
Or has not been accepted as a friendly amendment.
So the amendment dies for the lack of a second.
So we're sitting at an amendment on, and I've forgotten the words of your amendment. I am so sorry on that. It was if there was that people wouldn't leave.
Please restate.
Yes, but it was better.
The way I wrote it down was to not allow outside meetings, you must get permission to leave and enter the. Does that sound about right, or?
Right.
Yeah, I think it
That's
changed
not what he
after
said.
that.
And,
What's I'm saying, that his original amendment, that what it's
Yeah.
become is a monster.
and then, and
So-
then there
so
was
Maybe
discussion that we set a quorum for what a meeting is. And the proposal was 10. And I think,
Mine was, he 10 is an amendment to your. He proposed 9, no one's quite seconded it yet, but yes, that's the state. Assuming.
so I think so we have two options. We can second and then determine if we're accepting the friendly amendment. And I guess we would need to address that. Is there a second on the amendment?
his amendment.
It's my
On
amendment
your
for nine.
amendment, is there a second on,
I cannot give
So
a second.
Yeah, there's,
have a second on that? Do you accept the friendly amendment?
To set a quorum at 10, yes.
To set a quorum at 9?
At 9.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got that
we had an impasse.
answered.
Can we get Sue's participation on this?
Sue, can you hear us?
She's
Sue,
not been looking at us for a long
you,
time.
can you hear us,
Trying
Sue?
to hear.
We're having to text
She's
her.
trying to hear, but
The sound is not
the
good.
sound quality is not very good through the WebEx.
Yes, we all have green lights.
Can you hear us, Sue?
What is her opinion on the 10
Oh,
versus 9?
gosh.
So I think we have to speak into our mics.
Maybe put her up to the mic.
We use feedback.
Can I
I
get,
just muted it.
can we get Sue's opinion on the 10 versus 9?
Sue, would you like to have any input on this 10 versus 9 for a quorum vote? 10 versus 9, 9 versus 10.
About a half second lag. Sue says she votes
She
9.
votes 9, but,
We weren't at a vote, but
We weren't at a
we've
vote.
got
all right,
our
well,
opinion.
you like 9, okay.
Could I have offer an amendment to recall both votes and just move on with our agenda? I think we said we really only need the quorum to vote, so should we just move on? Let's work in the spirit of working together and make meeting dates that we all can attend.
And I don't think the question was whether we were having meeting events. I don't think the concern was meeting events that we all attend. I think the concern is that we would have one meeting in this room as opposed to a meeting in this room and then people having a secondary meeting.
That was the initial
It
conversation.
seems to me that if that's the intention, then the motion would simply be that there be no secondary meetings.
Bingo.
Yeah, we have agreed to that, right? That's what we agreed to, right?
To that by consensus.
By
So-
consensus.
Maybe
When somebody leaves the room.
Maybe going back with retract your amendments and or retract your suggestion and instead that we would only have the meeting would only be present in this room and there would be no secondary meetings during our scheduled meeting time.
Correct,
Yes.
which was the concern about people leaving the room and having little private texting, consultation meetings, sub meetings. I think that was fairly specifically stated. And so here we are back to the beginning. But yes, that's correct.
Although, you know,
Yeah.
the concern is basically, you know, almost moot because of technology, because, you know, we've all got little apps on our phones where we're getting opinions from other people outside the room anyway.
Correct.
So really, we basically only need the required amount for quorum, which is 9. That's the basic amount we need, is 9.
We have to have a quorum in order to vote, and we have to vote to decide on the map. So
And
I
that's the
still
number we
agree
use
with
for
Commissioner
voting.
Chalice that 10 is a better number. It brings more people. We're supposed to be here. This is a serious process, and we should take it seriously and do our level best and make every effort to be here, whether virtually or in person.
And I think
Wait a minute.
we agree
Oh.
on that. If I recall correctly, the concern was being present in the room.
Okay. Well, we
Um,
can't, no matter how many people, if you leave
Or
the room,
present
if
as
there
part of the
aren't,
meeting.
if the quorum isn't here, when you can have, like he said, you can have 3 people here and you can have all the discussion that you want. But in terms of getting business done, in terms of voting, then no, there has to be a quorum. And I think setting the quorum higher is better than lower. That's my opinion.
We only vote once.
Okay, so that we're not going to be voting on anything else other than setting rules, I guess. Okay, well, whatever. Then I think that at that one time, when it is the most critical time, more is better than less.
Well, the charter, I mean, to that point, the time that we vote at the end on the final product, the charter already says it's 9.
Oh, okay, that's right. It already does.
We're
So
talking
then
about,
we're-
we're talking about a higher threshold to even call it a meeting, which would be 10.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
To
When the
actually
only
call it a
required
meeting.
amount is really 9.
So the charter requires 9 to pass a map.
At the end.
At the end.
Right.
To pass the
So
map.
why would we ask for
Right.
more for these meetings, which will have less meaning than the voting meeting?
So is the vote even necessary? If we all just agree to be adults and treat each other with respect,
Agree.
Agree.
work together.
Because the numbers are going to.
I support that.
And operate transparently, openly, and fairly, and honestly. I think that's what the ultimate thing is that we want to be treated fairly and honestly, not just with words, just like actual actions.
Some of us are at an age where we just do that
Commissioner-
anyway.
Well,
Let's
some of
let's
us.
try to get a little order, please. Commissioner, who was first?
You know, there are 7 Republicans and 7 Democrats, and we are always going to have to vote together. And we are always going to have to follow the charter, which says 9 for the final product. I don't think there's anybody on our side anyway that intends to be unfair or untruthful. And the amendment that was the motion that came felt very aggressive. And it feels to me like there is an assumption that we are dishonest in some way. So I would like to say that I don't agree with a statement like that. We all want to be treated fairly. We all want to be dealt with honestly, and we all want to work together. And if we can't even vote to move forward to organize, I'm not sure, how we're going to get there. So I would ask kindly to the gentleman to please remove the motion and let us work as a group together. We know we're on opposite sides of the aisle. We understand that, but as the gentle lady says, that was supposed to say, this is going to come down to some numbers, and it's going to come down to the courts. And I think we can try to get along.
Okay.
Did you have another comment on there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr.
Go
Pearson
ahead,
did.
Commissioner.
May I inquire of Commissioner Chalice?
Commissioner Chalice, do you accept the inquiry?
Sure.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you bringing that forward. I think after this conversation, would you be willing to retract that motion?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's aggressive to ask that all 14 of us participate and to ask that we work together and to ask that we not have meetings within the meeting that may or may not be that may or may not be information that is shared with the entire group. So I don't see that as being aggressive at all. I think that we should all work together.
And we agreed with by consensus to do so.
Commissioner Pearson.
Mr. Chalice, given what we've talked about in this kind of spirit of bipartisanship and all of that, have you heard enough to retract that motion, knowing that we have no intent to all go out and have a meeting and that kind of thing? That,
Yes, I think we should move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam
I
Chair.
have one last question. So when you say that we expect to be treated honestly and with fairness, et cetera, it's okay, but when I say it, it's not, I'm
I didn't-
confused.
Yes.
Wait a
Ma'am?
minute, Commissioner.
There was no intention other than to just be specific that we, and it's true, we all want to be treated that way. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And that is, well, I
It
think
felt
we all
like an
agree.
admonishment and
I think-
I'm sure you didn't really mean that.
I think we're all
Uh-huh.
in agreement that we
Okay.
all want to be treated fairly.
We are.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so with
brought it
that
up
being
for that reason.
said, I applaud the two gentlemen for negotiating us back to a reasonable position here, so we can move forward. There's 14 of us. We're all responsible for taking on this duty. We agreed to do this. Hopefully, we will conduct ourselves in that manner. Okay.
That would be with everyone being present.
Do we have any other rules
Um,
to discuss?
Yeah, I think we should consider time limits on how much a topic can be discussed. And repeat statements. But I know freedom of speech, right? So, okay, are we done with that?
Do we have any more
All right, let's move on, Vic.
So would we make a motion to close the rules as we stated?
Unless there's any more discussion or any more new rules, which I do not see, we will close out on adopting or amending the rules and accept them as they are. Correct? Everybody?
So basically, we're just adopting Robert's Rules of Order.
Proper rules are, that's it. With the adoption of the virtual portion, that's it.
Yep.
Yep. Okay?
Do we need a motion
Alrighty.
for that?
I will make the motion.
Better move that.
Okay,
We did.
Already
Okay.
adopted, so we can move on.
awesome.
You got it.
I have a paper.
Awesome.
Public hearing dates.
Well, we've got the legal perspective sunshine law. Was there anything else that we needed to speak to that on?
I thought he already spoke on that.
Okay. And we've got the detailed role of the county executive's office, which was nothing. We're done with you.
I would like to just reiterate. I will bring Jay up as well because I know that he has actually been on the receiving end of a lot of your inquiries, which we are more than happy to answer to the best that we can. But officially, outside of just liaisoning, you all liaising, I don't know what the verb is for that.
Yes.
You all have been appointed. You have taken your oaths. You have some sort of, I guess, governance structure. And we are done.
So I have a question for you. What is if I recall correctly, the expectation was that we would receive census data at the end of September. How is that reception being
It's a
done?
perfect segue to from the IT folks. So once we get the
Okay.
data,
Excellent.
it's actually really great. Do you
Awesome.
plan for that?
Perfect, Becky. We knew we made the decision.
I'm Chuck Henderson, I'm the IT director. So really kind of the discussion will be in two parts. So you all are already familiar, it sounds like, with virtual meetings and virtual systems, which is what we have in here for you to be
You
able
might want to
to.
move that closer to you because you're a little muffled and I want to make
Oh,
sure. Sue can
besides
hear
the
you.
mask,
Does
correct?
that help?
Sue, can you hear him okay? Nod your head.
Sue,
can hear.
are you still with us?
Swing, there we go.
Can you hear the gentleman from IT?
I think that was a yes.
Yeah.
That was a yes.
Yes.
Okay. So as a Chuck Henderson, I'm the IT director. And well, kind of the discussion will be in two parts. The first part, which sounds like everybody is already familiar with virtual meetings. We use WebEx events for our public meetings. So that way people can actually join remotely, they can make comments remotely, they register and can allowed to speak. There's lots of different options based on what you want to do when you have your meetings that we can help you with. But then generally all the virtual meeting systems are pretty much the same. The key piece on WebEx events, the way we use it compared to Zoom and some others, is that you have audience control, to where, you know, the audience is not allowed to speak unless you choose to allow them to, instead of it just being a wide open kind of free for all, like you see in some of their systems. So the second part, unless you have questions about the virtual meeting platform, is really more on the data. And that's why I have Courtney Corman. She is our county data officer. And when it comes to data and the data platform, she is a much better person to talk to than me.
All right, hi guys.
Thank you.
So the census data was just released last week by the Census Bureau. Basically, we're here to serve as a resource for you all. I have not been involved in a reapportionment process before. So really what I need from you all is to let me know what data you need and what formats you need, and then me and my team can make that available to you.
Awesome.
Courtney, do we have your contact information? Has that been provided to us from the county?
I don't know if it has been. I can certainly provide it though.
The county executive's office is more than happy to provide it in our role for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Courtney, will you be able to provide the breakdown of all the racial precinct and all that other legal stuff that goes into that redistricting on the maps, or no?
Well, so I can certainly provide you with, as the current boundaries stand, and then with the new updated census data, I can give you breakdowns on that kind of stuff. I think if you are wanting to get, you know, breakdowns of potential new lines and things like that, that might be beyond the scope of what our group can do, but we can certainly provide you with as where the jurisdictional boundaries stand right now, and then and with the most recent data release, we can get that to you guys.
So like individually would have the numbers of all of the residents within each of those little sub-districts and cities, so that if we needed to move one or another to make up the plus and minuses, that we would easily be able to do that. I mean, because it would also need a racial divide, as well as I'm understanding voting precincts and a few other things.
So I can some of it I'll probably want to join you guys for whenever your next meeting is, or whenever you decide you want to see this data. But whatever the Census Bureau has made available, of course, we can provide it. We should be able to get you something in a fairly easy to consume interactive format. I guess what I'm hearing is, would you want something like, say, it's an online map that you can zoom in and out of on the county, down to the different census jurisdiction, like, or not jurisdiction, that's just the wrong word, but you know, they have census tracts, census block groups, census blocks, and you could click on that block or that tract and see the information that's come with the last census. So, you know, it would say 1,000 people. If it's at the level where the Census Bureau has provided, you know, racial data, then it would have that breakdown. Is that the kind of ask you guys have?
Yeah, that's the cool question I'm asking. I mean, because we need to keep things as equally for all groups as well as the districts. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sorry, what's your name?
John Bowman.
John. I'm sure John can attest that we need to make sure this. That's right. I'm sure that John can attest that we need to make sure that the
Well, the Voting Rights Act
minorities
definitely
have their
affects that.
abilities.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Courtney, do we have census tract level data on race?
That's a great question. I have not worked with, I don't normally am not one of the people who works with census data a ton. I can definitely get you guys, turn it around in about a week with exactly what's available at what level. I believe there's a race data at the tract level, but I can't guarantee you that.
Okay. The other question I have is, in Western St. Louis County in Wildwood, I remember last year them having some issues about the way the census tracts were laid out because Wildwood, being Wildwood, is all spread out with all sorts of little pockets of people. And it's much harder to correlate that to things that happened 10 years ago than it is, say, downtown St. Anne. So will we have the same level of information in Wildwood that we have in, say, an established area like St. Anne?
So that all comes down to the way the Census Bureau has split it up. My understanding is that they do attempt to have similar amounts of population in a block, or a block group. So you will see, of course, in a more dense area, potentially having the smaller, geographically smaller area because, the people, it's just a more densely populated area.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to move an entire city. You would have to move pockets of it with the smaller numbers that we're looking at.
Right, split census tracts and rearrange census tracts like they did 40 years ago in St. Charles County, for example.
I want to try to keep us moving here. So can we get that technical information provided to us in a timely manner?
Yeah, Courtney, can you provide us, I think you'd mentioned that you could provide us like a list of what kind of information you can provide us now?
Yes, I mean, I can get that to you guys by early next week for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
out of the office tomorrow, but first thing Monday, I can certainly look at the census data that's been released, what's there, and get that to you guys. It's going to take longer to build out an interactive map for you all with that data. That's a little bit more of a lift, but we can get that done as soon as possible. But I can definitely speak to on Monday, take a look at everything, and then speak to what data is available and potentially turnaround times.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I would recommend that we move forward with setting public hearing dates. A couple of recommendations I've seen. Some people, you all know what your schedule is like. Mondays have been thrown out there. And of course, it seems like Monday.
Can I interrupt you guys real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry, one last. I have a new baby, so and I didn't realize this meeting was going to go that long. Can I just ask if there's any other questions of me? Would you guys mind doing that? And then if not, I would need to
Thank
get
you.
off the
Thank you for
meeting.
your time.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you guys with info. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah,
want
we
to try
love
to work
babies.
around everybody's schedule here, but so we got to have a meeting in September, October, November, of course.
Okay.
So Mondays and Tuesdays seems to be the slow days of the week, I think.
Tuesdays are
council.
council.
So
well,
we're
that's
not going to do
a slow
that.
day here.
Every
No, it isn't.
Tuesday, every week.
Every Tuesday, every week.
Tuesday. Yeah.
And if you get here early enough, you can sign in and get permission to
Well, we
speak to your
should move these
masters.
meetings around to other locations.
Well, and in the municipalities, Mondays is tied up typically as well.
Well, what if we think about if we got to go north, west, and south? If we're going north, what do we think about maybe UMSL or North County Rec or?
What about Northwest Plaza?
What's
Is there
that?
any, oh, I mean,
is there
can
meeting
we use,
space
no,
there?
I mean,
I don't
can't
think we
can't
can
use
hold
any
a
of the
meeting in there.
BOE?
The
meeting
government
rooms or
building?
anything? Yeah.
Do they
No.
have anything big
Okay.
enough?
I don't.
I don't think. the
Oh, yeah, I
government
don't know. There
building
wouldn't be
has-
set up. It's not like how, yeah, no.
I think the biggest thing there is the BOE training room, and that's maybe
Right, and that's
80,
not going to
90
be enough.
80,
No.
90 people at tables.
Right.
I think
I forget about
UMSL,
public comments.
going north,
Mhm.
UMSL, North County Rec, maybe a large fire district department or something at that level.
Does Hazelwood have anything?
Hazelwood has a rec. I mean, no, it's
Florissant has a rec
Florissant
center.
has a rec center.
Big rec center.
Big rec center.
I would like to,
That'd be a good
I'd like to
place.
just say that you and the co-chair
Mhm.
work it out and give us a call.
Can I,
Can you circle
can I,
if you have recommendations in your
But-
area?
UMSL
I
is a
can
great idea.
also, I can also send out a doodle poll for dates, because I think if
Okay.
we're here tonight bouncing dates, it might take a while.
Right, it will.
If every, I mean,
Well, because we're going to have to look through, everyone has lives, and that's totally understandable, I think, I hope. we're all gonna have to consider what else we have going on, but I like the idea of Elmsville because I know they have the space.
Mhm.
And certainly for public comments would be
Right.
awesome.
So are we comfortable if you have ideas in your area that you'd recommend where we could meet, you'll send them to John or I?
Yeah.
And then.
Correct.
And then
Absolutely.
I can send out a doodle
Yeah.
and we'll
Yeah. We'll work
commit,
it out
if
from
I
there.
send it out tomorrow, we'll commit to have a response on the doodle within a week.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So
And
One
then
question, well, I guess one more question and.
for
is,
South,
Do we want to focus evenings?
Yes.
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 I think they have to be after work.
They have to be out.
well,
there.
yeah, because most people don't work, well, it's almost half and half probably by now, but most people don't work for government, so it is gonna have to be evening.
Awesome. What was it
You know.
you had to say?
So I'll just throw this out there. I guess the idea is that we would have one meeting in North County, one meeting in West County, one meeting in South County, so that we can get public input from the citizens that are in each of those areas.
Yes.
Correct.
That's
Is that-
correct.
is that
That's the
idea?
sort, I
That
think
is-
that's the
that
idea.
is the-
So
That's the
So we're
idea.
saying we
Yes.
have.
we should also
4
come up,
meetings. Is that what I'm hearing?
September, October, November, and the
Public meeting.
Public
One
meeting.
meeting a month.
Public meeting.
public meeting,
Yeah.
Okay, one public meeting. a
Yeah.
month.
correct.
But in the meantime, we'll get a list of meetings or times that are available so we can have more meetings than that.
And also for the public, purpose of public comment, does anyone have an idea of like a rough idea? I think this room capacity is at 250? 200, oh, I way over, oh, sorry.
They revised that just a couple weeks.
Oh, how could I have forgotten? Anyway, I know like City Hall in Crestwood, I think accommodates 165. Is there like a minimum threshold or,
Well,
so that
I
we can
think- I
be
think there's gonna
fairly.
I think that's gonna be a larger, pretty big room for what we're gonna probably get.
Why,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
For the time that we have the meetings. All too often, even the county council meetings are at 6:30. Nobody can get here at 6:30. People are just picking up kids from my house at 6 o'clock. I run a
Haven't fed
daycare.
their family.
We're not giving them time to eat or anything. I would suggest maybe 7 at the earliest, 7:30 would be a better time to make sure that we have the meetings at, give people a chance to get their kids home, maybe grab a bite to eat and come out. If we make the meetings too difficult for people to attend, we are not going to see any attendance.
Is it ever considered to have a Saturday meeting?
No.
Okay, just wanted to.
It doesn't bother me, but.
I thought that was gonna be, I thought that was gonna be the answer.
I
but
love Saturday meetings because there's,
yeah.
it's easier for me to deal with them.
I thought that would be the answer, but as a mom, a working mom, I just thought I'd ask.
Right. Working mom here, small business, yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday?
So we're gonna circle back with the doodle. We're shooting for times that are later. We're gonna get feedback from, we're gonna get feedback from everybody on locations in areas that you're familiar with.
And a minimum, do we want to get a minimum for room?
150?
150 or up? I mean,
150 is probably definitely gonna meet our needs.
okay. I mean, I don't know. So I mean, I've never done this and I
Good
don't
question.
want to get a room that's small and then people are angry because they can't come in or I
In
don't think
past
that's right.
experience, you get your biggest crowds on a tax issue. Since we're not raising taxes, we won't have near the crowds as you do with other things.
I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but the county council redistricting reapportionment is one of the best kept secrets, literally, probably out here.
Right.
I mean, it is-
Right.
No, but the county council meetings have been so exciting. We might get a little bit more visibility.
They love it when I
It
can't
is,
make it.
So Jay, would we work with you on coordinating the times and locations for notices once we get to that point? Oh, awesome. Thank you.
That's a great thing about.
You're
this.
awesome. Thank you.
That
Okay.
sounds like we've finished all our business. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All
Now that's some
opposed?
bipartisanship.
Wait. Whoa. We have to have public comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
we can't end like that. If someone in the public wants to speak, please come forward and have your,
Okay,
your
I'm gonna
comments. We're
excuse
gonna
myself
allow
because my
90
radio show
seconds.
started 8 minutes ago.
We'll allow 90 seconds for public comment.
public talk longer if they'd like to talk.
Okay, well.
Hello,
talk
my
as
name
long
is
as you want
Patrick
to, then.
Fox. I frequently attended some of the Charter Commission meetings, and Mr. Grant was a commissioner there, so he's familiar with me. I did wonder, though, I would open an inquiry into asking whether or not Ms. Polker can serve, because the charter specifies you can't hold public office to serve on the boundary reapportionment. So I just wanted to bring that to all of your attention. I didn't know if it changed in the latest charter revisions. I didn't think it did, but I just wanted to mention that to you all.
You had a choice to pick me or Tom.
That's gonna be a question that goes to
I've
the
already,
attorney.
I already talked to the attorney about that.
You already,
They're,
yeah, okay.
Page me.
Any other public
Yeah,
comments?
Mr. Bush.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Earl Bush, and I'm an alderman in the city of Northwoods. And I'm really glad to see that everybody kind of got together on the small things that make the big things work. And my question this evening, when will some type of map be ready? You're having the public hearings, and but will there be maps for us to look at instead of the real map that's going to be in December?
That's a very legitimate question. We will have to get together and start drafting something before our next meeting to present to the public.
So do we present to the public or do we listen to the public first?
Well, they do have a right to, if my memory is correct, they do have the right to see some sort of,
Like progress along the way. I
something.
don't personally have a problem with sharing what we're doing, because this is something that affects every one of our communities. And I think the sooner we have information, because you may notice something that we missed, that we've made a mistake and cut something, or something important that we don't know, because, well, I have to say, I do love your community, because I have a friend that lives, it's beautiful, like a little oasis. I love it.
Thank you.
Anyway, but then you might catch something that we don't, or bring some other problem that we're not aware of, because I don't live in your area. So I don't have a problem with having that information as we go. That's my opinion. I don't know if others have a different feeling.
So we are asking for a digital PDF that's going to have all of that information on it. Is there a way to put that on the county website so that all of us can go back and share it out, and you guys can share it out, county can share it out? We can make sure that all the municipalities get it, so that they can share it out with their people. And I highly advise social media sharing all that out as well, so your residents can.
Exactly.
So there has been a lot
This
of,
is kind of what we do.
there's been a lot of community drawing maps. I mean, there are a lot of interest in the communities of maps being drawn, so there's,
It's a way to seek out citizen input. Because it'll all be there and they can all help us along the way.
Yeah, total transparency.
Total.
Absolutely. And all the way along the way.
Okay, so
That's my opinion.
what,
And unless I'm banned from saying
I
it,
think
if
we
you
have-
ask me, I'll tell you.
I think we have to let him finish, and then we can ask questions.
and the other question, so there are 7 districts. So each district has to have an equal amount of people in each one of those 7 districts. Pretty
Correct. That's
close to it.
as much as we can, as possible.
Right. So would you guys be actually drawing the maps, or would that be the IT department?
I think they'll show us
It's
what
gonna be,
the options
that's
are.
gonna be us.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will draw the map.
It'll be us. We'll move this and we'll move that based on.
Yeah, we're gonna draw the
hopefully
map.
all the legal standards, and hopefully a lawyer will be checking all.
Okay, and I noticed the last question, one of the questions was asked about the minority makeup of each one of the districts. And the lady stated that she didn't have that racial information that would be on the census. And I find that kind of uninteresting, not for that to be on there.
She said she wasn't sure she had it yet, but she was going to get back to
It
us on what she
hasn't, all
had.
of the, right,
Everything hasn't been fully drawn.
that it hasn't been fully released.
Right.
So it's not that it's not going to
Right.
happen.
So
It's
for
just,
clarification, go ahead.
Were
Commissioner.
you an alderman on your board in 2010?
Yes, pretty close to it, yes.
So you guys had to go ahead and maneuver your city the same way, right?
We haven't redistricted in a while.
Okay. So it happens after every census,
Yes.
okay? And what happened was, that information that she's not sure of, it is going to be available. And
isn't yet.
when everything's divided up, we'll be able to see if there's an equal number of African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, and I think Pacific Islanders.
Native Americans.
Majority minority district.
Right.
Yeah.
In each of the areas.
But there's not. So with that minority.
No, there's not.
With that minority district, will it still consist of at least 65% minority minority residents in it?
Those districts that have the number of minorities that live. It's predicated upon the living patterns.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna take.
You're not gonna do any packing. No
Packing's
packing.
illegal.
You're right.
Cracking, all of
Right.
that. Packing, cracking, that's, yeah.
Rika, then you're gonna have a small.
Right.
So that's gonna be, probably gonna be.
Right.
Those things not gonna change.
Right.
I mean, like, you
So
know.
when we get through at the end of the day, each district we're dealing with, districts. Right, those districts, according to information that I last got, probably in the neighborhood of 140,000 people is what we got.
Right, per district.
Per district.
It might be a little more, a little less, whatever the numbers that the census gives us, we divide that by 7.
Right.
And that then becomes the magic number that we're trying to accomplish in each district.
Right. Did the county lose population?
No, we
About 1,000.
No,
More.
5,000. So we
5,000
gained,
more.
we gained 5,717.5% growth over the last decade.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's just point out that means the ideal size of a district increases like 712 people.
Next speaker, please.
I think that you all can call the election board, talk to either Eric Fay or Rick Stream. I could think he can set you up with maps. Okay? And you can get one of the whole county. When you make your request, you tell them, you tell them exactly what you want. You want it divided up into the county council districts. They have the capability of doing that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pearson.
I think it would be good if we have something like that by way of presentation to the public, because I would imagine the questions that have been presented here today, it might be good if we had some type of presentation to give to the public that provides that information so that they know going in kind of where things are. So that's just
We have like a video screen that we could hook it up on.
yeah,
or
a little
something,
presentation would be awesome.
that we could blow up a PDF.
Okay.
I will refer that question to the IT director.
I'm
sure that he will be able to.
It'll probably be dependent on where we're meeting at.
Commissioner.
I just wanted to say I agree with Commissioner Polker that that we should have transparency all along the way. And, you know, I think that I believe people want a map to react to. So I'm really glad to hear that everybody is I think, hopefully by consensus, willing to share, you know, possible potential maps where we're thinking where things are going, because people want something to react to that I don't think they want to just come and talk to nothing. So
this is a long process. So it's a continuous piece of work that we'll be going through till we finally get to a good product. Commissioner Ball.
First one, does the VRA apply to us in our districts, or is that only a congressional?
I think that's congressional.
So, and it's also somewhat of a moving thing, since 4 and 1 will basically be barely moved as it is, but it does, I was just making sure. And secondarily, in the charter, there's no specific variance that is in the state constitution for the drawing of districts. Should we agree on a number, 1%, 3%, of how different each district should be before we start drawing?
We probably need some legal opinion on that as well.
I was gonna say, I don't think we need legal, I think it's just us, but.
I mean, well, I'd have to look. Could you comment on that, please?
I mean, you're correct, the charter doesn't specify. There are obviously cases that say this deviation was too much or this deviation was acceptable, but the charter just says equal numbers as far as practical or something. So, but you could try to agree on what your goals were.
Right.
That'd be fine.
The state constitution says 1% variance
Right.
unless you want to abide by county lines, they give you a 3% variance.
And the charter says as near as the county district, council districts, by dividing the population of the county by the number of council districts established by this charter, so that the population of each district shall, as near as possible, equal that figure, and so that each district shall be composed of contiguous territory as compact as may be. Probably have the discussion on the variance once we get a look at the data.
Yeah, I don't, at 1%, I mean, that might be, I mean, hopefully we're closer than 1%, but I don't think it does any good to set a rule at this point.
Neither do I. I agree.
Oh my goodness, we've agreed again.
Adjournment.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank
Night.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, Sue.
Bye, Sue. Good night.
Oh, no, Sue.